How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball and welcome back to another Premier League review for you guys. We've got me and my brother do head-to-head predictions for each and every Premier League game, and the scores at the moment are 119 to Sim, 111 to myself. And the way the scoring works is you pick the completely correct scoreline. That's 5 points. The correct result is 1 point. And then the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. And it's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's get into the weekend's action, starting off with the Merseyside Derby, which finished 2-0 to Liverpool. I went 3-0, Sim went 4-1, but it was 2-0. And look, it was more or less one-way traffic for pretty much the whole game. Everton were resolute for the most part. Liverpool found it hard to break them down, to be fair, and find the back of the net. But I think quality shone through at the end with 2 goals from Mo Salah.
Obviously, they went down to 10 men, didn't they, Everton, just before the half-time break, which was quite a dour first half, wasn't it? It was literally Liverpool trying to score, Everton trying to defend, nothing else really happening. And Everton looked like they were going to see out the half, and then 2 stupid fouls from Ashley Young. You have to say, I don't think you can have any complaints, can he, about the red card. He gets sent off. Then it's all about second half. Can they make do with 10 men? Can Liverpool get past that 10 men? And for a lot of that second half, it looked like the answer was going to be no. They did struggle to create good quality chances. But what was the difference? Was that penalty. The penalty earned by Luis Diaz. Michael Keane had his hand stuck out. And referee, I think they go to VAR? I think the referee gave it himself. Bit controversial.
What did you think?
I probably thought it was a penalty because I think his arm is outstretched. I think in a perfect world, I don't like to see those given, but by the letter of the law, it's a penalty.
Given week in, week out at the moment, aren't we?
Letter of the law is a penalty, unfortunately. And Salah sticks it away, makes it 2-0 late on, and that gives them the win. But I think Liverpool, I was a bit concerned looking at Liverpool, how they struggled to really create anything against 10 men at Liverpool, but Everton. But as we've seen this season, playing against 10 men ain't easy.
Exactly, and everyone liked to lay into Spurs for saying, oh, you can't break down a 10-man Liverpool, you can't break down a 9-man Liverpool. Well, they got a taste of their own medicine, even though they did win the game on the weekend 2-0. But let's move on. We both get a point for that one. Let's go to the Gary O'Neill Derby. Bournemouth 1, Wolves 2. Sim went for 2-1 to Bournemouth. I went for 1-1, but it looked like I was going to get a 5-pointer at some stage, but then Wolves did nick the winner. Gary O'Neill going back to his old team and saying, look, maybe you shouldn't have sacked me because it looks as though Iraola is on his last legs at the moment. But credit to Wolves for getting the 3 points.
Yeah, and I think Bournemouth definitely had the better of it early on, but Wolves stuck in there and they got back in the game. And then again, another red card, this time turning the fortunes around for Wolves, and a late goal from Sasa Kalicic and a fantastic win. And they're in good form, aren't they, Wolves, you have to say. I think they're now unbeaten in 4 games, winning 2 of them and drawing 2. So they're starting to really pick up some points, but Bournemouth can't buy a win for love nor money. Second bottom of the league. 3 points out of 9 games. Iraola under increasing pressure now. A lot of reports from the Daily Mail this week saying he's set to be sacked, but BBC did report that he retains the support of the hierarchy and is set to be in charge for the game against Burnley. And how big is that game now? Considering massive, how big both teams really.
I always did think it was strange, Gary O'Neill getting sacked at Bournemouth after doing such a great job. And it feels like he has improved things at Wolves, slowly but surely. Pedro Neto has definitely helped him returning to full form. But I think probably at this moment, Bournemouth fans will probably think pretty much the same. Like, why did we sack Gary O'Neill for this?
100% at the moment, considering they were on an upward trajectory last season under Gary O'Neill, having he kept them up. And I think maybe they got ahead of themselves, thinking that this manager who plays nice, attractive football out in Spain for a kind of mid-table team, maybe they thought, oh, he can upgrade us. But maybe they didn't realise what they had in Gary O'Neill, because I was watching Monday Night Football, and he seems like a very detailed coach who, seems like a very talented coach by what he was explaining and what he was showing. So I think Bournemouth fans will be unhappy, but it's what Wolves fans to the benefit at the moment. 9 games in, they're 12th, and that should be pretty. Especially they're playing some good stuff as well. With I think he's really getting the best out of Neto, Cunha, and Hwang especially as well. So that front three is really showing a lot for Wolves.
Yeah, look, I've been saying it pretty much all season that I've been impressed with Wolves, even though when they don't get the results, you are seeing some good things in their games, and like you say, he's getting the best of a lot of the players there. So credit to Gary O'Neill, credit to Wolves, but Bournemouth are in big trouble at the moment without a win all season. Let's move on to the Brentford Community Stadium, where Brentford beat Burnley 3-0. Sim went for 2-0. I went for 2-1, but it was 3-0. So both of us get a point on the board here. Another sending off in this game for Connor Robertson, but the game was pretty much done by then. It was 2-0 to Bournemouth at that stage. Johan Wissa getting on the score sheet with a Brian Mbeumo assist, and then Mbeumo does get on the score sheet on the hour mark, and it was pretty much game over by then, and then the sending off happens, and then it really was game over.
Yeah, I would have happy if it just kept it at 2, but they went for the third goal, unfortunately for me. But look, Brentford needed that massively because they've been in terrible form results-wise, and they needed some kind of pick-me-up. And to be fair, Burnley, at the moment are doing a lot of teams favours with how they're playing. And I have to say, as much as I'm worried for Sheff United and Bournemouth, I've got to be worried for Burnley right now because they seem to be just too easy to play against.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. When you've got a team at the bottom of the table like that, who have got a lot of young players and are looking to play pretty football and open up a lot and, try and play out for the back, you have to make sure you're bloody good at it. Because in this the Premier League is unforgiving. And at the moment, they just don't seem to be up to scratch. And if they're not good enough on the ball, off the ball, they're certainly not good enough. They're just so open and they're gifting teams chances. And if you're not good enough to counter punch them, then you're going to see results like we're seeing so far this season. That's 4 points from 9 games. And the only win was against Luton.
Yeah, and the Brentford side, they've been on dreadful form, to be honest. But maybe something like this can twist things in their favour because they do have good players there. They've got a good manager, and they've had a good thing going over the past couple of years. So I think that this might be a return to form for Brentford now. But let's move on to the Man City Stadium, City of Manchester Stadium, 2-1. Etihad, sorry, against Brighton. It finished 2-1 to Man City. Both of us going for 3-1 to Man City, and I think they kind of blew Brighton away early in this game. It was 2 goals, I think, after the first 20 minutes or something like that. And then I felt like in the second half, Man City did take their foot off the gas a little bit with allowing Brighton back in the game, which Pep Guardiola won't be happy with. But Rodri's back in the team and the 3 points return.
Yeah, no surprise. Obviously, Doku was absolutely causing havoc in this game, and he was absolutely fantastic on that left-hand side. He just didn't give Brighton 1 minute's rest with his just relentless running at their defence. He's been so good ever since he's come to Man City. And obviously, look, Haaland and Alvarez, they've been doing damage all season so far, and they continued that, especially Alvarez. Another brilliant finish from him and a nice goal from Erling Haaland. But yeah, they did take their foot off the gas. And Brighton, who weren't really in the game in the first half, definitely did get back into it. A nice goal from Ansu Fati after good work from Mitoma. And then another red card in this game. This one time, Manuel Akanji sent off right at the end of the game. And it looked like maybe Brighton, if the game lasted a bit longer, might have had a chance to maybe get back in it. But unfortunately, they ran out of time. But something about Man City and red cards this season, isn't it? They've been picking up a few of them. Should have picked one up as well against Arsenal. We're very lucky not to. So something to watch. Look, never easy being Brighton, even though Brighton maybe a bit poor defensively so far, but it's never easy beating them. So good win for Man City. Brighton, they'll just take on the chin. So you're not going to expect anything at the Etihad, and nothing is what they got.
Next up, go to St James's Park as Newcastle tore Crystal Palace apart 4-0. Both of us going for 2-0, but it was a battering at St James's Park. Another unbelievable assist from Kieran Trippier. Is there a better man at those kind of assists, as like cushioned crosses, than Kieran Trippier?
On the volley, he just does it so beautifully. He's done it for Spurs, and now he's doing it on a regular basis for Newcastle. And you have to think about the trajectory of Trippier, because when he left Spurs, we were hounding him out, and we were ready for him to go. And now England, probably, if you look at England's squad, one of their strongest positions in terms of depth is right back, and yet Trippier is the outright number one choice. Like, no one's even debating it. No one's even questioning it. Like, he's so far like the number one choice at right back. It's ridiculous. Like, that's how well he's been. He's been so good over the last 2 years since he's gone to Newcastle.
So you're saying he is the number one choice at right back? For
yeah.
England? Yeah, I mean,
he's been at tournaments. He's been, hasn't he?
I don't know. I think it's not like every single game Trippier plays right back. Sometimes Kyle Walker plays there. Sometimes Trent plays there.
Kyle Walker seems to play there when Trippier goes left back.
That's fair.
Well, anyway, look, the fact that he's like, I just think the trajectory of his career, like he was going nowhere when he left Spurs in 2019, and now he's like just like first choice England right, like he's best right back in the league for now. Looks like it's going to be his second year in a row. The way he started this season, it's just astounding. It's a remarkable turnaround for him, and I'm so happy for him because he was going through a tough time, and now he's been fantastic again. And Newcastle are benefiting from it massively.
He joined Newcastle at the age of 30 years old, and you're thinking a right back coming in at 30, coming back to the Premier League.
You thought it was a good signing, but you wouldn't think it would be the best signing in the right back in the league.
I still think Kyle Walker is the best right back in the league, but I think Trippier is a very close second.
I think Trippier takes the cake at the moment, but just because of he is no longer a defensive liability, and on the ball he's just absolutely remarkable.
Yeah,
he's just maybe I would say maybe second just to Trent, but like when he gets to that byline, I don't think there's a better crosser right now than Kieran Trippier. He's absolutely remarkable, and he deserves all the praise that we're giving him. Newcastle, though, to be fair, had a slow start to the season after a run of hard games, but turning things around. 4 wins in their last 5, up to 6th. They're now 4 points off top 4, so they have their sights set on that. Even if they don't get top 4, they can just have maybe a top 6 finish and a good Champions League run. I'm sure they'll be happy with that this season, albeit obviously they want progression. But look, they seem to be turning things around, and maybe people writing them off too early.
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe has done an astounding job at Newcastle, to be honest, and you're seeing it now. After a tough start to the season, they didn't let it get to them. They've turned it around, and they're battering teams now. And in the Champions League as well, they completely swept PSG aside like they were nothing, to be honest. And look, credit to Newcastle, credit to Eddie Howe, and the train keeps rolling for Newcastle. Next up is Forest against Luton at the City Ground. It did finish 2-2. Sim went for 1-1, so he gets a point on the board for that one. I went for 1-0 to Forest. But look, everyone was talking about Luton at the start of the season, saying they're sleepwalking to relegation. They're going to break the record for the least amount of points. But they're playing some football at the moment, and they're getting some points on the board. Yeah,
good result for them. Obviously, I think they come back from 2-0 down in this game, so you got to give them credit. It looked like they were down and out for a lot of this game, and they
not only did they come back from 2-0 down, but Chris Wood scored his second goal in the 76th minute.
So that takes some character.
They scored their first goal in the 83rd minute.
So it takes some character to come back, and they did that. Fair play to them. Obviously, they can't rely on doing that every week, but they did that this week. And the last few weeks, they have been picking up points now. I think, what is that in the last 5 games? Only 2 defeats, only 1 win, but, only 2 defeats. So they're definitely starting to improve a bit, and they're definitely picking up some points. Still 17th, 5 points from 9 games. So by no means out of trouble or anything like that, but definitely hoping to prove a lot of the doubters wrong. I still think they're severely lacking quality, but they're not lacking fight and passion and spirit, and that's what's getting them the points at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you compare that to a Burnley, Burnley do have more quality than Luton, in my opinion, especially going forward. But I think it's that passion, that grit, that determination to keep together and show some fighting spirit. I think that's what's driving Luton at the moment, and I think that's what's going to stand them in better stead than Burnley.
Yeah, but will it keep them up?
Well, that's the big question. I don't know if it's going to keep them up. I think if Iraola maybe leaves or something changes in Bournemouth, I think they might catapult a little bit up the table, and that might be to the detriment of Luton. But you still got to talk about teams like Forest and Everton who could be dragged into it as well. So look, still a long way to go. It's only 9 games in.
Forest no win in 5, 4 draws. To be fair, not too many losses, but so. Not great for them. They need to get a win on the board as soon as possible.
Yeah, but let's move on to the London Derby at Stamford Bridge. It's called the We All Hate Tottenham Derby, which finished 2-2 against Arsenal. Chelsea against Arsenal. Sim went for 1-1, so he gets a point on the board for this one. I went for 1-0 to Arsenal. And you know what? Arsenal were absolutely shocking for the first 45 minutes of this game. I don't know what they were playing at, to be honest, but they just couldn't string 2 passes together. It's the poorest I've seen them all season, to be honest. And I thought Chelsea made light work of it in the first 45 minutes, and they probably should have been more ahead than they were. Was it 1-0 or 2-0 at halftime?
It was 1-0.
Yeah, it was 1-0 at halftime. So I thought maybe they should have been more ahead than they were. Didn't capitalise on how poor Arsenal were. They go 2-0 up with that Mudryk goal. Was it lucky or not?
Definitely. 100% it was lucky.
Everyone's saying he looked over to the goal and he chipped the goalkeeper and Tony Jimenez said...
what anyone says. I don't care if he swears on his mother's life. It is a fluke. He's Raheem Sterling is right there at the back post. He just overhits it. It's on his weak foot as well. Yeah. That's why he just shanks it, and he tries to claim it as look. If he meant that, he would have gone crazy. He did, and he was very muted celebration, and also I've seen a replay. He doesn't look up once at the goalkeeper. The only time he looks at the goal is just after he's hit it. And I think he's probably looking at Sterling. I just think he shanks it, and I think it's a complete fluke.
But what is it about Chelsea, right, where they play really well in first half of games and they just can't keep it up for 90 minutes? It's happened so often this season.
Well, you think about it this way. Remember Tottenham when we first started, we had a similar issue. Because
I can't remember.
Because his way of playing is so intense. It takes a lot of getting used to, and you have to get used to it, and it takes time to build up that fitness to do the whole 90 minutes. I think in this day and age, obviously when you've got 5 subs, it should be less of an issue, but maybe it's just a case of they're taking time to acclimatise to how intense Poch wants them to play.
So is that signs then that they are going to be all right then under Poch?
In the long term, yeah, maybe not on the short term. If he's given the time, it's all about if Poch is given the time.
Are they still in crisis?
Well, look, they've got a few results, so then I wouldn't say they're out of the crisis yet because they're still 10th. So a few bad results and they're back in crisis, 100%. If they're in the bottom half come second half of the season, who knows what that means for Pochettino? Honestly, who knows? And if they sack him, they definitely are in crisis. As long as they keep him, I think they should be okay, but we'll see. He might end up sacking him, so we'll see.
If they sack him, it would be the stupidest move, to be honest. It really would. But in terms of Arsenal,
terrible.
They got it together and got back 2-2, and credit to them for one of the goals were fortuitous. One of them, Gusto just completely loses Trossard at the back post. But what is it about Arsenal in these performances? They beat Man City. And you think like, all right, fine, after that Man City game, great win, that they're going to kick on now and really put a run together. Drop points at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, it's a tough game. If you offered them 4 points from City and Chelsea, they probably would have taken it, wouldn't they?
They would have taken it in terms of a draw from Man City, but after beating Man City you'll take 4 points. I know,
but if you take, I'm saying before the City game, if you were taking 4 points out of City and Chelsea, they probably would have taken it. I think it's probably a good result.
After the City game, if you say, all right, you're getting 4 points now, they would say no chance.
I mean, look, Chelsea away in a big game, it's not going to be easy. I think they'll be more disappointed with the performance and the result. I don't think a 2-2 draw is a terrible result. I think it'll be disappointing, but I think it's more just disappointing that they were just terrible for the majority of the game, and they got handed a route back into the game by Chelsea, and that's the only way they got back in. In fact, I think they only had 2 shots on target, I think, the whole game, and then those are 2 goals.
It was 3, yeah,
and that's the goals. Maybe 3. Or 2 shots on target when they scored. It was the only shots on goal, I think, in the game. So they were atrocious. But I have to give credit to Rice because I thought the goal was exceptional. I have to say that goal it wasn't as easy as it looked. I know some open goals are easy.
It wasn't really an open goal because he was so far out and he had to curl it around the keeper.
It was a great goal, and he didn't have a lot of time to think about it. And to be fair to Arsenal, the goals they did concede, it was a dodgy penalty and a fluke. That was the goals they conceded. As much as Chelsea would be kicking themselves because Palmer and Jackson both had absolute sitters that they missed, didn't they? Which Palmer they both tried to ride the keeper and they both failed.
Jackson's one was feeble. Was a feeble attempt.
Terrible. So those two misses, they'll be having sleepless nights probably about them.
Yeah, I mean
that was a 2-0.
Yeah, it was, and it was probably game, set, and match if one of those goes in. But in terms of Arsenal, with these performances, it seems like they're coming week after week, but still not really. The scorelines don't really reflect that. What do you make out of that?
Quality they have. They're a good team, and they seem to find a way of getting the result. And maybe it will happen at some point. They do start to click. We'll have to wait and see. At the moment, they haven't been clicking so far this season, especially like they were last season. But they're still third. They're still on 21 points, only 2 points off the top. So there's something, and they're still unbeaten. So there's something to be said about that. I think a bit of it has been a bit of luck because a few of their goals have just been deflections at the right time and stuff like that. But I think credit where credit's due. I think they have clearly got a good mentality and belief under Arteta, and that's why they keep getting the results.
I would like to say that Declan Rice has been performing unbelievably well this season. I think he's been their best player by far.
I will say though, if they do if performances don't improve and they do end up losing a game soon, I do envisage things starting to turn. That's what I would say.
Let's hope
because
so.
because when you're having a bad result, what keeps you going is the performance. And if the performances aren't there and you're getting a bad result, then all of a sudden negativity starts to breed.
What's I don't get it though with Arsenal. Like, what's changed since last season?
Arteta. He's changed the way they want to play. He's brought in Havertz. He's brought in a few new signings, and he's trying to stay ahead of the competition by completely revamping the team.
In this game against Chelsea, Havertz was on the bench. They played pretty much their strongest 11. Saliba was fit. Saka was fit. They both played. Martinelli, did he play? Martinelli started, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Gabriel Jesus was up front. It's what they've been calling for all season, the Arsenal fans. But still, another really poor performance. Strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Let's move on to Sheffield United against Manchester United, which was the last game on the Saturday. I think it was 8 p.m. kickoff. Sim went for 2-1 to Manchester United, which was 100% correct. And I went for 2-0. And look, Man United, not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. McTominay getting on the score sheet once again. He's in unbelievable form for club and country in terms of goal scoring form. But Diego Dallo getting that winner with 10 minutes to go with a lovely strike.
Yeah, after McTominay gave away a penalty just after he scored. And I have to say, Sheffield United were much the better team in that first half, and United were really struggling. In fact, Sheffield United were dominating possession, which is like unheard of, like in that first half. And Man United were really struggling to contain them. Onana had to make a few saves. But credit to United, they did get their act together in the second half and probably deserved the victory in the end. Sheffield United ran out of quality. They couldn't really sustain that first half performance. And then Dallo with a brilliant strike. But again, still unconvincing by United. Got the win, just like Burnley. Got the win. I'm still not convinced.
Yeah. Agreed. Moving on to Aston Villa against West Ham, which was the only game on the Sunday. It finished 4-1 to Aston Villa at Villa Park. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Villa. So I get a point for this one. I thought Villa were really good. Ollie Watkins was unbelievable. 5 goals, 5 assists this season in 9 games for Ollie Watkins. He is really performing out of his skin at the moment. I thought West Ham weren't even that poor, to be honest, in this game, but the quality of Villa would just overruled them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. I think Villa at the moment at home, they just seem imperious. I think it's 11 wins on the trot at home under Unai Emery, which is a really, really great record. Watkins is very, very difficult to deal with. Diaby is very difficult to deal with. They're also a threat from set pieces. They play a really high aggressive line. West Ham struggled to really hurt them. And apart from that deflected goal, they didn't get anything. And obviously, I think it was a bit of an even game in that second half. West Ham were coming into it, and then Villa get a goal on the breakaway, maybe against the run of play, and that seals the game, and then they get the 4th. But very good victory for Aston Villa. And look, they're 5th place now on 19 points. And definitely in there with a shout of a top 4 finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, Monday night football at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 2, Fulham 0. Both of us going for 2-0 to Spurs as well. And look, it was a professional performance from Spurs. Not Spurs' greatest display of the season, but I don't think the result was ever in doubt. And quality definitely shone through. And it was a good performance. But it wasn't kind of maybe the performances that we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Look, it wasn't the most free-flowing performance of the season, but we had control. I think we deserved the victory. The victory never really looked like it was in doubt, apart from maybe 1 or 2 saves from Vicario. Fulham really rarely threatened, and Tottenham were the only one looking to create chances. I think it was the one. I think the quality shone through in the end. I think we more than deserved the victory. We had control of the game and deservedly sit top of the table at the moment. So not too much, no real surprises or thrills in this one.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the Star Men. A lot of points going for Star Men this week. Sim picked Brian and Mbeumo with a goal and an assist. So he picks up 7 points. And I went for Mohamed Salah, who got 2 goals. And so that's 10 points for me, 7 points for you. So we finish off with a 10-point gap. 142 to Sim, 132 for me. And I'm lucky I did go for Mo Salah, because if I didn't, I'll be very far behind. But I had to play my Mo Salah card. But that is your Prem review this week. Let me know in the comment section below how well you did on your predictions this week and what was your surprise of the weekend. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.